Another thing to keep in mind if you're renting an Airbnb in August is that if something goes wrong with your AC, which is a nightmare for the majority of people from the US, or you have an issue with your shower, do not expect a quick fix. Fabulous people, welcome to the podcast for all the babes who create their own life trends. My name is Anastasia, and this podcast is all about inspiring you to relentlessly pursue your biggest dreams and live your most authentic, abundant life. Well, I am back to Rome, aircon is blasting, and we are about to enter one of the hottest months of the year, August. And if you plan on traveling to Italy in August or just wondering if August is a good time to travel to Italy, then you definitely need to know about August 15th in Italy. It's called Ferragosto, and it's not just a holiday, it's a national shutdown that can completely derail your travel plans if you're not prepared. This episode was actually inspired by a client who reached out to my travel agency this week, asking us to organize a trip to Italy literally starting on Ferragosto. And I'm realizing that despite numerous videos that I've done throughout the years on August and Ferragosto, there's still so many people from the US who do not realize why this is an issue. So in this episode, I'm sharing what really happens in Italy during Ferragosto, the mistakes most travelers make, and how to avoid turning your dream trip into a hot, expensive disaster. So I know a lot of you are probably wondering, so what is Ferragosto? It actually dates all the way back to ancient Rome. The Emperor Augustus created a holiday in his name, of course, celebrating the end of harvest. It's kind of like a forced national vacation after many months of hard work. That ancient tradition eventually got merged with the Catholic holiday celebrating the Assumption of Mary. And today we know it as Ferragosto. But what it means for travelers is everything stops. Shops close, restaurants shut down, and locals disappear. It feels like the entire nation just packs their bags and heads for the coast, mountains, or their hometowns. Cities like Rome, Florence, and Venice get flooded with tourists, but what no one tells you is that many of the places you'd want to experience, like the family-run trattorias, the artisan boutiques, even some museums, like Vatican museums, which is actually closed on the 15th and 16th, aren't operating normally. You're surrounded by people, but the soul of the city isn't there. And if you don't know this in advance, you might end up in Italy's most iconic destinations on one of the most chaotic days, wondering why everything feels off. So let's discuss what it's actually like traveling to Italy mid-August. First that I want to discuss is, of course, heat and humidity. And I talk about this in so many of my videos, yet I don't think that people fully realize what it's like being in cities like Florence, Venice, and Rome mid-August. Expect temperatures in the high 90s from day to night, with little relief and intense humidity. That's why I strongly recommend scheduling any outdoor sightseeing for early mornings or late evenings. Ferragosto also brings a big cultural shift. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of locals actually leave for the beach or the mountains, and a lot of family-run shops or restaurants shut down completely. It's not a full ghost town anymore like it used to be years ago, but you'll definitely feel and notice certain neighborhoods feel emptier. And the authentic local spots, unfortunately, often closed. Another thing to keep in mind if you're renting an Airbnb in August is that if something goes wrong with your AC, which is a nightmare for the majority of people from the US, or you have an issue with your shower, do not expect a quick fix. You have to remember that you're staying in an apartment with probably hundreds, if not thousands, years of history, and most likely the owner of that apartment is on vacation. And if an apartment is ran and managed by an agency, then most likely they are operating with very limited staff during Ferragosto. And finding in Italy a working technician, plumber, electrician during the middle of August is practically mission impossible. I will never forget my first August in Rome. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I went grocery shopping and then I came back and took my AC remote control, because in most apartments in Rome, this is the remote control. And then you guys, those of you who are watching this podcast, you can see the air conditioning behind me. So that's how you turn on your AC here. I took the remote, I clicked, nothing. I clicked again, nothing. I thought my worst nightmare is coming true in Italy in the middle of August. So right away, I called the owner of the apartment and I shared with her the entire situation. And she said, Anastasia, listen, I don't know how to help you. I'm in Sperlonga until the end of August. And at this point, you only have two options. You can either come here and stay with me and my family until the end of August, or you can get yourself some fans and somehow survive until I'm back. Because right now, there is absolutely nothing I can do. Everyone is out of town. So guess what I've done? I went to a store. I bought myself 3 huge fans, put them at different corners of the room. And that's pretty much how I slept for the next 2 weeks until the life finally started to come back to the Eternal City, along with all the technicians, electricians, and plumbers. And of course, the issue was finally fixed. Now, in terms of pricing, a lot of people think that summer is the most expensive time to travel to Italy. But in reality, it is actually not the case. It's not as extreme as a lot of people might think. In big cities like Rome, Florence, Milan, Venice, prices tend to stay quite flat throughout the entire month of August. And what is actually very interesting is that during the middle of August, they tend to be slightly lower than during the beginning of August. So if you're a budget cautious traveler, this tiny difference might actually play into your advantage. Now, when it comes to, let's say, Amalfi Coast and places like Sorrento, Positano, Capri, prices tend to stay flat throughout the entire months. So you're not going to see a big fluctuation between the beginning of August, middle of August, and the end of August, because at this point, they are at its ultimate peak. Now, if August is the only time when you can travel, don't panic. You can still have an amazing trip. It just needs to be designed a little bit differently. First, and I say it all the time, this rule never changes. Make sure to book everything in advance. And I'm not just talking about the hotels. In August, as you've learned today, many locals go on vacation, which means fewer tours, fewer available guides, and even some restaurants closing entirely. So your options are already limited. And what is available, especially the best guides and experiences, will book up fast. So if you're waiting until the last minute, you're just asking for disappointment. Next, plan your days around the heat. I strongly recommend for you to do all your outdoor tours as early in the morning as possible. And then just be creative with some of the tours. For example, instead of a walking tour, I recommend for you to do a golf cart tour, a golf cart with the roof. And as you're going through the city, you will be experiencing some nice breeze. So it's not going to be as hot as doing a walking tour. And of course, museums with AC. Because yes, there are some museums that really crank up the AC, and there are some that, let's just say by the end of your exploration, you will be sweating. And do as locals do. During the hottest part of the day, take a nap. And I know some Italians right now are going to give me a hard time and say, Anastasia, we don't take naps during the day. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Not all the time, but you do. Also, consider mixing in lesser known parts of Italy, like Le Marche, Abruzzo, and even some parts of Umbria, which I think is still such a hidden gem of Italy. There you will find slower pace, lesser crowds, and you will feel like you can finally breathe. And finally, work with a travel agency that understands how Italy actually works in August. And that is exactly what we do. My travel agency helps travelers navigate the chaos of peak season and build trips that feel good, not just look good on paper. And that makes all the difference. So what is the biggest takeaway from today's episode? August in Italy isn't bad, it's just different. Ferragosto changes the rhythm of the country, and if you expect Italy in August to feel like Italy in May or September, you'll probably be disappointed. But if you know how to plan, if you lean into the early mornings, mix in lesser known towns, and book strategically, it can still be one of the most unforgettable trips to Italy. And if you're just as passionate as I am about exploring this incredible world, don't just listen, join me. Make sure to smack that subscribe button for more Stay Fabulous series, whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. Let's explore this incredible world together, one unforgettable story at a time. This is Anastasia signing off from Rome. I cannot wait to talk to you in my next episode. Until then, and always, stay fabulous.